Cold.
You're kidding. Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get down.
Ooh, I love this song. I'm hung up in a grave situation.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello, and welcome to episode 271 of the Rotten Views podcast. Thank you, everyone, for showing up to another new episode this week. I appreciate it so much. If you're a new listener, thank you for picking this movie to be your first episode of the Rotten Views podcast. And if it is your first episode, hopefully you'll enjoy this one. Hopefully you'll stick around, check out the back catalog, because we got a ton of fun, weird, stupid, and bad movies to watch and listen to. So definitely go check out the catalog. Make sure to subscribe and all of that fun stuff. But as always, if you're a returning listener, I really want to say thank you for everyone who's been showing up. I love seeing the community grow. I love seeing the listeners coming together, and I guess the analytics are showing me this. I'm glad to be doing something that people actually enjoy coming back to each and every single week, and that's the main goal of this podcast, or it's the main goal of anything I do, from the podcast to the artwork to the video game streams and whatnot. I just want to create content that helps you get out of your mind for an hour or two a day, and hopefully it just helps you pass the time. Maybe it makes you laugh a little bit. I don't know what it might be, but hopefully it just helps you get through the day a little bit. That's the end goal for all the stuff I do. I just want to help everyone just have a little better time enjoying life in the crazy cycle that we're in. So I know that intro sounds a little bit deeper than I probably want it to sound, but at the end of the day, it's true. I just want to make content that everyone enjoys, and hopefully it helps give their day a little bit of enjoyment. But enough about that. You guys are here to listen to me talk about a movie that came out in 1987. Before I was even born. That's crazy. This is not really that crazy, to be honest with you. It doesn't seem that long ago, to be honest with you. But this one's another horror comedy, and it's got a short runtime. It's only an hour and 18 minutes. We're watching Doom Asylum on Tubi. Of course we're watching it on Tubi because Tubi's a great app, and if they want to sponsor me, I would never say no. So if you want to sponsor me, just shoot me an email. I would love to. I know it's never going to happen, but I can keep saying it. Maybe if I keep repeating it, it'll happen. Probably not, though. But before we do get too far into the podcast episode at hand, let's do a little bit of housekeeping like we like to do each and every single week.
Housekeeping?
Don't think you're sleeping.
Housekeeping?
Could you come back in an hour?
Housekeeping, you want towels?
More towels. Need sleepy.
Housekeeping, you want mint for pillow?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
No matter what podcast platform you're on, if you could just leave a review or a rating, that'd be highly appreciated. If it's Apple or iTunes or Spotify, Castbox if it has one, whatever it might be. If you're on Spotify, feel free to leave a star rating. If you want to leave a 5-star, I'd appreciate that very, very much. If you don't, that's fine too. Want to leave me a 1-star? I'll be a little bit disappointed in you, but that's fine. Christmas is just around the corner. Oh, that makes me sick thinking about that. And Santa is going to leave you some coal. And by Santa, I mean Bill Goldberg, because he's playing Santa's sleigh again. Or maybe, was it the guy from Stranger Things, Silent Night, or one of those movies? I forget the movie. Don't hate me for it, okay? It's been a long day, and I'm a little bit tired doing this podcast, so whatever. Evil Santa will come get you. Maybe Krampus. Krampus will definitely come get you. I could be Krampus. I have a Krampus mask. I'll come put a dark demon spell on you. Yeah, don't leave a 1-star. Don't do it. I mean, if you want to, you can. It's fun. I can't control you. But The one thing that you guys can do the most that helps out the podcast, no matter what podcast platform you're listening on, just leave a comment and hit that share button. Help grow the algorithm, help grow the podcast a little bit. If you want to just hit that share button, share it on whatever account you want, your X account or your Threads account or Facebook or Instagram, whatever it might be. Just hitting that share button helps out a lot, helps grow the podcast and gets it out to new eyes and ears. And I appreciate it very much. And if you want to follow me, make sure to check out all my social media links down below. We also have the podcast Instagram account, Rotten Views Podcast on Instagram. It's the link down below. But if you want to follow my personal accounts, it's that type of sign. You can find me on pretty much anything and everything, from Facebook to Instagram to Threads to X to TikTok, where it might be. But above all those, the main thing that you should definitely check out is the YouTube channel, where I drop the weekly gaming video every single Wednesday. I have old episodes of the podcast dropping every single Monday. I have daily shorts and community posts dropping as well. On the community post side of things, I do my On This Day in Horror postings, which are also on the Rotten Reviews Instagram page as well. So depending if you're not really into YouTube or you're not really into Instagram, I have multiple platforms where you can check that content out. We have various hours upon hours of free content over on the YouTube channel, so I highly recommend checking out. You can check out pretty much all my artwork that I've done in the last couple of years. I pretty much post them all in like short forms on the short reel section over there as well. And then there's also some live streams as well. Can check out some old art live streams, some old video game live streams. It's just a fun place. Just hit that subscribe button. We're getting closer to 1,000 subs over there as well, which is pretty cool. And this week alone on actually Spotify, we've hit 10,000 streams for the week. So that's pretty cool as well. I wasn't expecting that at all, and I just wanted to say thank you while I was thinking about that, to be honest with you. Pretty cool. I know I probably talk about views a little bit too much, and I hate doing it. I do. It's just, it makes me feel good that people actually enjoy the stuff. And if you hate watching, I guess, that's fine too. I don't think you guys are, but that's besides the point. Yeah, it just makes me feel good that just little old me is making some content that you guys are enjoying on multiple platforms. So I'm happy to do so, and hopefully I'll be able to start giving more to the community as well, because that's the end goal for everything. Also, if you want any wrestling content, make sure to check out the CWC Canadian Wrestling Championship page on Instagram as well as Facebook for all your wrestling content. We got some live streams set up soon. We're going to be working on podcast platform and some other fun content, so definitely go check that out as well. There's a lot of things to do, which I understand. I have my hand probably too many cookie jars, let's say, because I'm a fat man, so that's fine. But we're slowly working towards all of them, and they're all gonna, once they start moving like a well-oiled machine, everything's gonna be a little bit easier. Or at least that's what I'm thinking. Hopefully. But if you want wrestling content, you can find it over there on that page. If you want just straight up art content, you can find it on Instagram. If you want a little bit of everything, find it on the YouTube channel. And yeah, it's all free content. But enough of me like trying to whore myself out. Let's get back to the movie at hand. We're talking about Doom Asylum from 1987. It's a horror comedy for an hour and 18-minute runtime. It's got 4.6 out of 10 on IMDb, 2.6 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and 5.2 out of 10 on TMDB. What the hell is that site? I've never even heard of that one before. Apparently 75% of Google users have enjoyed this movie. For whatever reason, the release date on the Google issue says 2007, which is definitely not correct by any means, because this movie was made in 1987. So I don't know why they're using that release date, but whatever, I guess. The description, as read from IMDb: a horribly disfigured lawyer, wrongfully pronounced dead after a terrible car accident, is taken to an asylum for dissection, only to come back alive, kill everyone, and make the asylum his killing grounds. I mean, that description does sound like a pretty fun movie. Something I just want to point out there to everyone, if you're a new listener, I will be talking about this movie from start to finish and hitting all the points in between that interest me. So that means it's going to be a spoiler-heavy episode. All the Rotten Reviews episodes are spoiler-heavy because that's just my podcast platform on doing the episodes. So like I said, this movie came out in 1987. IMDb says 88. It came out a while ago. So don't be hating on me if I spoil things for you. Okay? Just want to put that out there now, just so everyone's aware. The director is also one of the writers for this one. There's also 3 writers credit for this one. But the director and the main writer that we're going to talk about is Richard Friedman. He was the director for 2025's Thou Shalt Kill. He's the director for 1989's Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge. I want to watch that one. I think that's an early Pauly Shore movie. I could be wrong on that one. He was the director for 2016's Christmas Crime Story. He's worked on a bunch of movies I know nothing about, to be honest with you. He was director for 2003's Dark Wolf. He was director for 1 episode of Monsters in 1989, so that's pretty cool. He was the director for 2 episodes in 1987 of Friday the 13th, the series, which I watched that one years and years ago, and I probably got to revisit it, but upon the time, like when I was a kid and I watched it, I thought it was going to be actually about Friday the 13th, and it's really not about Friday the 13th. It's about like artifacts from the area, I believe, if I remember correctly. Like I said, I've only watched a couple episodes, and I was a little bit disappointed and confused by it, but maybe it's a good show. Maybe I should revisit it. Let me know down in the comments below. The next writer we're going to talk about is Stephen G. Mencken. He's a producer for 1997's The Sticky Fingers of Time. He's the producer for 1993's Only the Strong, and the producer for 1976 Otilia de Bahia. I butchered that one. I'm pretty good at butchering names or titles. Words in general. Pretty stupid. Not sure why I'm doing a podcast, but I'm doing it anyways. The final writer we're going to talk about is Rick Mark, who's the writer for 1983's Strangers in Love, the writer for 1982's Puss in Boots. I don't know if that's about the Shrek character or a porno. And then he was also the writer for 1982's Roommates, and the writer for 1988's The Nicole Staten Story, Part 2. Apparently there's Part 2 of that. I haven't heard of Part 1, but oh well. Doesn't seem like the writers really have much to do with this, or did much of anything else other than this movie, so... Now, like we like to do with each episode, we also want to talk about a couple of the cast members. And, of course, the first one we're going to talk about is Michael Rogan playing the character of Mitch Hansen, who's obviously the main character for this movie. He was in this movie, 1988's Doom Asylum. He was in 1 episode of Wings from 1991. He was Eric Berner in 1989's Punch the Clock. And he was in 6 episodes from 1983 of the TV show Tribeca. Never even heard of that one. Other than that, he's only actually has like 7 acting roles. He's also Man with 27 Noses in 1990's Basket Case 2. He was in that 1 episode in 1990 of In Living Color. I don't know why those 2 weren't higher up on the list, but whatever. It is what it is, I guess, IMDb. The next person we're going to talk about is Patty Mullen, who's playing the character of Judy LaRue, and as well as Kiki LaRue in this movie, of course. She's in 1 episode in 1989 of the Equalizer TV show. Didn't know there was a TV show. Is that based off the movie? Or is the movie based off the TV show? Something I gotta look into. She's Elizabeth in 1990's Frankenhooker, as well in 2025. She's Daisy Doll. We're doing the voice for Daisy Doll in Strange Toys. And she only has 4 credits to her name. So I don't know why she wouldn't go on to do a little bit more. There's a big gap. 1990 was the last one. Then she just was in Strange Toys this year. So I've heard a lot of good things about Frankenhooker, though. Haven't actually personally watched it. Probably going to add it to the podcast list because, well, I like Frankenstein. And it's got Hooker related to it. So what the hell? Why not? The tagline for this one is slashing with a snicker, slaughter with a smirk. All right. And apparently, the first thing of trivia I see on IMDb, Ruth Collins was paid $100 to bare her breasts in this film. I guess $100 is $100, right? Especially back in 1988 or 87, depending. All right, but with all that stuff said, let's get started on the movie at hand. This is going to be your final warning. Like I said earlier, this is going to be a spoiler-heavy episode. We're going to be talking about the movie from start to finish and hit all the points in between that interest me. So don't want to hear any complaints about me spoiling the movie for you. So if you want to, pause it now. Go watch the movie on Tubi. Come back and listen to me talk about it because you want to support me. Or just sit back, relax, listen to me talk about the movie. And I'll either make you really want to see it or you'll probably just want to avoid it. I leave that judgment call up to you at the end of this episode. But if you're listening at home, hopefully you're comfy. Hopefully you got some snacks. Maybe you're listening in bed to help you sleep. Don't know what you do with your life. I'm not going to judge you. You do what you want, all right? No hard feelings here. No judgments. This is safe, free zone. If you're listening at work, hopefully this helps you get through the day. As I know most of you ghouls, gals, girls, guys, fiends, hobbits, whatever you guys are. I know a lot of you listen in the car when you're going to work or going out to get groceries or just going for a drive. So hopefully you just keep your eyes on the road and pay attention to where you're going and nothing bad happens to you. You know, it's wintertime here. Not sure where you guys are listening to, so it might be wintertime there. You know, ice sucks. So just keep an eye on the road. And with that being said, let's get started on the podcast episode at hand right now.
Presents Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures. Tonight...
But I'm worried now, that legend about the coroner?
Nobody ever got killed by a legend.
Back in a flash. And if I'm not, don't come looking for me.
This movie literally wastes no time. There's like no intro credits starting out at the point in time. We just see a road, we hear some music, and we see a car coming right at us. So in this car, we see it's a convertible, and we see it's Mitch and his girlfriend, or fling, whatever it might be. They're drinking, driving, not really paying attention to the road, and the girl's like, "Oh, Mitch, $5 million, you're so smart and so rich." And then she starts spilling the booze all over his crotch, and he's like, "Oh man, let's start making out, because you know that's the best thing to do while driving a convertible, while drinking and not paying attention to the road." The girl really has like a Harley Quinn voice and sound to her, which is kind of cool, kind of annoying, depending on how high pitched it gets. Anyways, she's just like sucking on his face, and next thing you know, we hear a car screeching, and we hear him crashing off on the side of the road, and then Mitch is crawling through the grass, you know, crying for his wife, or his fling, Judy, who's like almost wrapped around a tree. He's like, "It's okay, Judy, don't worry, it's okay." It's like, "No, I don't think it's okay. I mean, I think you guys are pretty messed up." And he goes to grab Judy's hand, and Judy's hand is separated from her forearm. And Mitch starts screaming, and then Judy's like, "Don't worry about me, Mitch. The doctors will still patch me up and take care of me. Just, I love you, Mitch." And then next thing you know, we cut to the autopsy room, where we see Mitch on the table. And then the two guys working at the autopsy table being like, "Isn't this the guy that won that big multi-million-dollar lawsuit?" And he's like, "Yep, sure is. He didn't get a chance to use the money, though." The medical examiner starts moving like part of his forehead, and the assistant just starts put his hand over his mouth, being like, "Oh, I'm going to get sick, man." It's like, "Is this your first day on the job there, buddy, or what? Are you not used to this stuff?" The assistant goes to grab some tools, and then he's like, "Sir, the guy on the table, his hand's starting to move. The fingers are starting to switch, and now the whole hand's moving." And then next thing you know, we see Mitch's eyes open up, and he's missing half of his face because the medical examiner's been cutting off his face. And then the medical assistant's like, "Sir, he's not dead." He's like, "It's just rigor mortis. You know, he's just, you know, just gases and stuff in the body. Don't worry about it, intern." And then Mitch slowly starts to sit up on the table, and he's like, "Okay, yep, so he definitely might not be dead then." And then Mitch starts screaming, "Where's Judy?" And he's got like a pipe wrench sticking out of the side of his throat at one point in time, and then it's like gone, and it's in his hand, and he stabs the assistant with it. And the medical examiner's like, "Hey, I'm sorry, Judy didn't make it, she died." And that really starts to piss off Mitch, because then he goes on a killing spree. And then we see some intro credits, and it's a Film World production, association with Manhattan Productions. We see this abandoned asylum now. It's all beat down. And then we just see Doom Asylum pop up on the screen. Font, pretty cool. Not gonna lie, I like the placement of it and everything. Looks pretty cool. Then as the intro credits are starting to end, we then see the shadow of Mitch in like a medical robe walking through the abandoned asylum, and then we see a shot of the exact same road from the beginning of the movie, and it's now 10 years later, and we see a Mustang convertible going down the road with like 5 people inside of it. And Darnell's one of the guys sitting in the back car, and he's trying to spook this girl. And apparently Darnell is so cool that he's got a gold necklace on that fucking says Darnell on it, because, you know, in case he gets lost and doesn't know what his name is. Anyways, they're talking about all the ghost stories that's happened, or the missing campers, or people that went missing in the sewers. And the guy driving is like, "Hey, can you guys just calm down with the whole camp stories and shit? You know, let's just relax and let's keep enjoying the weather and drive." And then we see the driver Mike stop in the car, and he's talking to his girl, and he's like, we're gonna only be a second. Well, it might take longer. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't do it. And then Darnell's like, hey, Mike, can you never make up your mind what's going to happen? He's like, well, sometimes. No, not really, to be honest with you. Well, it depends, I guess. And I'm assuming that the girl is Jane, maybe. I'm not really sure. It could be Tina. Not really sure what the girl's name is. But apparently they're going to see the same area where the mom died. And then she looks down. There's this gold mirror in the grass. She just pulls out. She's like, huh. Was this my mother's? It's like, well, maybe. It's been 10 years, though. You think maybe somebody didn't clean up the crime scene? I don't know. And then we see the group of kids, teenagers, young adults, whatever the freak they're supposed to be, showing up at the asylum. And as soon as they drive by the asylum, there's a sign that says, danger, building condemned. And then as soon as they drive by it, the sign falls down. And then we go inside the asylum, where this heavy metal girl band is playing. I guess you could say they're making music. Girls are screaming, essentially. So we see them walking up to the asylum, and the one girl's like, oh, what's that music? And I think it's changed. She's like, you call that music? And then Darnell's like, that's Tina and the Dodge. They play all the local sewers. Don't worry. I'll go deal with them. So Darnell goes into the asylum, and he unplugs this one power cord that's at the doorway. And apparently it stops the whole musical festival from happening, because like the keyboard starts sparking, and everything else starts sparking. It's like you had one power cord plugged in to power everything, apparently. And then Darnell goes to meet up with the friends, and then Tina and her band are watching from the balcony being like, it looks like we got company here, I guess. Then Darnell and one of the other band members start making eye contact, and he starts licking his lips. And then they cut to this random slow-mo where they're running towards each other, arms open in the field. And then they start making out in this field. And then we find out it's just the band member having a daydream the whole time. And she's like, he's kind of cute. So then Tina starts yelling down from the balcony, being like, can't you idiots read? It says, do not enter. She starts laughing. And Darnell's like, how about you consider getting a job as a porcupine? And then we see from Mitch's point of view, he's in the basement somewhere of this asylum, walking along this dark hallway where steam and smoke is coming out of the pipeline, and it's just heavy breathing. It's like, it's been 10 years though. Why is he just going to kill now though? So then we see the band members are on the roof of the asylum, and the one that's in love with Darnell is just daydreaming, looking down at him again. While the other two are at the water dispenser, and they're using condoms to make water balloons to throw down at the kids down below. So the blonde Kiki LaRue, who's also Judy LaRue, Patty Mullen, I forgot to mention her boyfriend's Mike, and she calls Mike Mom because that's some weird fetish, I guess, mommy issues. I really don't know the point of that, but whatever. But then we also see Mitch in the forest, and he's got a medical bag, and his hands all deformed. But then we see the condom water balloons just raining down on everyone, and they all start freaking out. And then Dennis, he's played by Kenny L. Price. He's likes collecting baseball cards or hockey cards, one or two. I'm not really too sure. Anyways, the cards start getting wet, so then he starts freaking out, being like, "Oh, my cards, man, my cards!" And then we cut back and we see Mitch, who has a Judy LaRue newspaper article about her dying from the car accident. And it shows a picture of Judy, and of course, Kiki looks just like her, because of course they're played by the same goddamn character, so of course they are. So then Tina starts yelling down at them, telling everyone to go away, and then for whatever reason she tells them to F off, and then shows off her boobs, and then Mike's like, I'll go fix them, and then Darnell's like, no, let me go, by myself. I got nothing else to live for. I will definitely go handle her on my own, while you guys stay here. Don't worry about it at all. Alright, guys? And then Mike picks up one of the condoms that was used as a water balloon, and he shows it to Kiki, being like, what do you think? And then she's like, no, Mom, that's incest, and walks away. He's like, Kiki, come on. I'm not really your mom. Come on now. So then Darnell goes into the asylum by himself, pops his collar, takes some Jack Daniels, dabs it on his neck, being like, the lady's gonna love this. We hear some sounds from a hallway. He's like, hey, sweetie, is that you? I just want to introduce myself. I'm a pretty cool guy. My name's Darnell. So then Darnell keeps talking as he gets closer and closer to the noise. And he's like, oh yeah, you're rapping, huh? So he tries to do his own asylum rap. And then Mitch comes out behind him with a medical tool and just starts like crushing his head. And then Darnell's like, oh, you just had to say it was no. And then Mitch is like, I hate rap music, and don't you ever call me honey. And then, Darnell drops to the ground dead because, his skull's been pretty much penetrated from side to side. We see Mitch, he's washing up in the sink. He's like, how are you staying alive? Because he looks like a zombie. And then in the next side of the sink, he's got some chemical acid that's like boiling something. It might be boiling, part of Darnell. But then we see one of the band members. She had to go for a leak, so now she's also like spray painting crap all over the walls. And she started spray painting the men's washroom wall. And that's when Mitch is like, somebody's outside the door. Who's outside my door? So instead of like confronting her at first, he actually goes to hide inside one of the washroom stalls. And then of course she comes in and starts spray painting everything. And then she hears one of the toilets flush. And she's like, Tina, you better not be pulling a prank on me now. She goes around checking the stalls, and of course she opens up the last stall. And Mitch pops out and starts choking her. And she's like, you can't be doing this. I'm a Republican. I voted for Reagan. And then he grabs her by the back of the head and pushes her head into the acid and pulls it out, and she's got no face anymore. And he's like, I don't really agree with your political decisions. So then we cut back to the group of teens, and Mike's like, I think I'm going to go get Darnell. He's been gone for a while. Or maybe I shouldn't. What about the legend about that corner and, like, people dying? And then Jane's like, nobody ever died to a legend. Just go find Darnell. He's like, all right, I'm going to go get Darnell. And then Kiki's like, see you later, Mom. It's like, I'm not Mom, I'm Mike. Come on now. And we see Mitch making his way through the basement tunnel system again with his lantern. And he gets to his bed because he's apparently got a bed set up somewhere. And then he starts having flashbacks to the car accident that, I guess didn't really kill him, but killed his fiance, girlfriend, wife, whatever she might have been. So we see Mitch, he's getting his big-ass drill ready. And then we see the girls outside with Dennis, and Dennis is setting up some of his cards. And one of the cards flies away, and he starts freaking out, being like, oh no, my card, I gotta go run through the woods to go get it. And of course, this card keeps, like, just jumping all over the place. And then he starts sounding like he's playing baseball. Because he's like, he's going around second. He's going around third. He's going for a home run. And the card somehow just starts flying up a set of stairs. So Dennis follows what he thinks the card goes into this certain part of the building. He's like, oh, come on, card. Don't be coy. Like, where are you? He gets down on the ground to try to look for it. It's like, it's a goddamn card. And the floor looks clean other than a couple leaves. And then we see Mitch showing up with the giant drill. So then Dennis like, hey, I'll give you any card you want. Any card you want. And then he just stands up against a wall and allows Mitch to drill through his forehead. Then we see Mitch, he's setting up this, like, shrine with a bunch of candles and a red, like, cloth and whatnot. And in the middle of the cloth, we see the severed zombie hand of Judy. I guess it's not really a zombie hand, but it's a decomposing hand of Judy. And he starts to slowly, like, lick it maybe or kiss it. And then we have flashbacks again to the car accident happening all over again. So then Mike finally gets to the roof and he sees Tina. He's like, where's Darnell? Where's my friend? Yeah, I can't find him anywhere. And she starts talking about some crap. He's like, hey, cut the crap. She's like, where's the knife? So then everyone's like, so you mean Darnell hasn't been up here yet then? And then Tina starts slapping and jumping all over Mike. And it's just this weird, awkward scene where she's kind of like, almost like trying to get with him, essentially. Like, she's got her legs wrapped around his waist. And he's kind of just being like, oh no, I can't do this. My girlfriend's down below. Then as Mike and Tina are fighting, the other band member's just sitting there on a chair being like, Darnell, sounds like music. I wonder if he has safe sex. I wonder if he's ever had sex. And we just see them fighting, and then next thing you know, his head is smashed into the table in front of her. And it's just a silly fighting scene back and forth, where Mike's not really doing anything because he doesn't want to hit a girl. But like Tina just keeps jumping on him like a spider monkey. Then Tina like pushes Mike up against the railing, and she tries to push him over the railing, but he gets on top of it. There's like the side wall essentially of the roof, and he's fighting back so he doesn't get pushed off the roof. And then out of nowhere, Tina just punches him in the balls, just straight up, straight jab, and he's just like, oh god. So then we see Kiki and Jane. And they're like, isn't that Mom, a.k.a. Mike, hanging off the building up there, fighting with that dyke? And Jane's like, yep, sure is. I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm sure he won't fall off the roof, though. It'll be fine. And we have the other band member walking around the asylum and be like, hey, Darnell, just come on out, all right? I'm just another lonely single chocolate person, too. Come on, Darnell, come out hiding, please. Well, then she opens out the washroom door, and that's where we see the severed head of the other band member, but it's now, the body's gone, it's hanging upside down, and then Mike thinks it's Kiki screaming, so he just like Superman jumps up and over top of Tina and goes running to try and see if it was Tina screaming. And of course, then we see Mitch showing up behind the other band member and choking her out with like a stethoscope. And she's like, Darnell, is that you? I just wanted to say hi and say that you're cute and stuff. Stop choking me, please. And then as Mitch is choking her out, he's like, sorry, baby. I already got a girl. And then Mike is running through the hallways, and then he just runs into Kiki and Jane. He's like, Kiki, you're all right. She's like, well, yeah, of course I'm all right. I was in here to see if you were doing okay. At this point in time, we see Tina walking around the asylum, and she's wondering where her other bandmates are. That's where we finally find out their names. It's Rapunzel and Godiva. But the one, she just says, Diva. Then we cut between Tina looking for her bandmates, seeing where they are. And then we see Mitch hiding behind a door, and literally outside this door is Mike, Jane, and Kiki, and then he kind of just slowly closes the door and squeaks, and Kiki's like, you gotta get me out of here, Mike, I just can't be in here, it's too scary. So then we see Mike and Kiki standing behind this wall, and Jane's like, don't worry, I'm gonna go find Tina and her bandmates, and then we're gonna find Dennis and Darnell, and everything's gonna be fine. And Mike's like, you know, in horror movies, you're not supposed to go off on your own because then you'll die. If you're not back in 5 minutes, I'll probably come find you. So then Jane does run into Tina, and Jane's like, hey, we got just as much right to trespassing here as you guys do. You need to stop being assholes to us. And then Tina's like, you gotta fuck off because, you know, my friends have gone missing, and I don't know where they are. And something stupid's happening around here. And then Jane walks into this one room, and then we just see Mitch getting up off of this bed. Looks like he was just, you know, laying there relaxing. And then he's got like a bone saw in hand, being like, hey, how's it going? And Jane's literally staring at Mitch as he's walking towards her. And he's like, hey, I know you're just a delusion. You need to get lost. That's what my mom and dad would tell me to say to the delusion. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, maybe you're not a delusion. I can offer you a discount on some therapy, though, if you want. And then, you know, Jane had plenty of time to leave the room, but what she decides to do is sit down on a chair as Mitch is walking closer to her. That way it's easier for Mitch to cut her face open. And apparently Jane's screaming wasn't loud enough because then Tina walks in and looks all confused, being like, oh, hey, wait, Psycho, you got the wrong dude here. And then we hear Mike yelling, be like, hey, Jane, are you in the meds room or the bathroom? And Mitch is like, you're lucky, Spikehead, and he disappears. And then Mike shows up being like, oh, you're sick, Torpedo Tits. I'm going to get you for this. I'm going to call the cops or somebody. And then they're yelling at each other from across the room. And Tina's like, you got to listen to me. There's this guy with a lab coat and it's bloody. And he's got a buzzsaw. And he's somewhere in this building still. So we hear Kiki screaming, so Mike goes to check on her. And she's like, I just found Darnell, or what's left of him. And we see him dead in a tub of stuff. He's like, Tina must have got him too. And then she's like, what happened to Jane? And then Kiki just starts slamming Mike's head into like the bathroom stall. He's like, I don't know what's going on, to be honest with you. We then see Tina walking around the asylum looking for her friends. And then she walks into that washroom where we find both of them dead, and she starts puking all over the place. And then we cut to Mike and Kiki, who are in like the church area, and they're praying that they can find their friends and get out alive. And then Kiki's like, God, I just want to let you know that if I get out of this and we get out of this, I'll give you anything you want at all. Money, sex, pretty much anything you want, God. Just let us get out of this alive. And Mitch is watching from outside the room. He's like, hey, man, I got some liquid, and I'm going to kill you guys now. Maybe not Kiki, because, you know, the weird relationship between the two. But I'm assuming Kiki would be his daughter, because, well, you know. Anyways, Mitch is pulling some big-ass syringe out of his bag, and he starts loading that liquid up into the syringe, and he starts squirting a couple shots of it, and he just finds it, like, the funniest thing ever, because he just starts giggling about it. So then we see Mike and Kiki walking through the asylum, and he's like, we could go this way, or we could go that way, and Kiki's like, I don't know. He's like, well, we could either go to the right, or we could go to the left, you know, the killer's gonna be one of these ways. And they start to go right, and then they hear a noise left, so he's like, alright, let's go left. why would you go closer to the noise? Wouldn't you want to go away from the noise? And then out of nowhere, Mitch comes around the corner and just impales Mike in the neck with that giant syringe, and he just screams and then drops to the ground. And then Kiki just stands there just screaming like a bat out of hell. And Mitch is like, hey, just relax and go with the flow, alright, lady? And then we see Mitch tying up Kiki to like a medical bed and a gurney. And he's like, hey, don't you go anywhere, alright? And then we see Mitch carrying Mike back into the same room that he's got Kiki tied up in. I forgot her name for a minute. And he's putting Mike on a different like medical table because I'm assuming he might chop him up a little bit. And then we see Mike finally waking up and he's looking at Mitch. It takes him forever to be like, you're the one that killed those doctors, aren't you? It's like, yeah, I am. Why did it take you so long to say that, though? Wake up. Then while Mitch is taking off, like, Mike's shoes and, like, sniffing them a little bit, we then see Tina walking around the asylum with a pipe being like, Mr. Killer, I'm after you. I'm going to find you, Mr. Killer. And then we see Mitch grab some giant-ass hedge clippers, essentially, and he starts cutting off Mike's big-ass toe. Big toe, just one of them, and it looks pretty gruesome, not gonna lie. Then as Mike's toes are getting clipped off, we just have the shot of Tina walking down this hallway, and it sounds like she's walking through water or something. It sounds so weird, and it's so loud and obnoxious. But it's just like every step she takes, there's a squishy sound. And I'm not sure if it's supposed to be the squishy sound of like Mike's toes getting cut off or if it's her walking. But then she walks in the room being like, alright, sucker, let's do this. I got pipe in my hand. So then Mitch goes and grabs a fire axe. He's like, this is what I got. And then they start having a battle between a fire axe and a pipe. We just see Mitch like swinging his axe at Tina multiple times and getting the axe stuck and missing her every time. And then Tina just starts wailing on him with that pipe to the point where he's on the ground and she just keeps wailing on him. I guess Mitch might be knocked out on the ground now, or that's what Tina thinks at least. So she goes to free Kiki, and she's like, I never thought I'd ever be free in a dumb blonde. Then as Tina's walking, she bumps a switch and somehow gets ripped onto this conveyor belt. And then Kiki's like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know how to stop this machine. This machine's also making like pig grunting sounds. And then we see Tina coming out of the end of the conveyor belt system. And she's just a square box of flesh with a hand, a spring, and like a foot sticking out of it. And then Mitch pops up being like, looks like the deck has a good lawsuit on our hands. I'd be able to handle it for a nice handsome fee. Then we just see Kiki running through the asylum and Mitch is like casually walking after her. He has enough time to pull out his mouth spray and give his mouth a nice little sprint and fix up his tie a little bit. Being like, I'm in no hurry. I know I'll just catch a dumb bitch anyways. See Kiki finally gets outside. She's running through the long grass. Of course, typical horror movie. She's gotta fall down. And then we see Mitch running after her being like, Judy, come here please. Come on, Judy, come back. So then Mitch like pins Kiki down to a wall being like, Judy. She's like, I'm not Judy, I'm Kiki. I'm not Judy. And then she's like, finally, alright, fine, I'm Judy. So then Mitch starts like feeling her up being like, you're so pretty. And then Kiki said enough of this because then she just knees him in the sack and he's like bent over in pain being like, Judy, come on, don't be doing this to me. So then Kiki runs past the picnic area and Mitch is still falling after her and then he falls to his knees and he's crying and looking at paper. And then Kiki's like, who's that? Grabs the paper and he's like, hey, that's my mother. And he keeps crying. He's like, you don't realize yet that that's probably your kid then? And maybe it's not his kid, I don't know, because then she's like, you really did love my mother, did you, huh? And Mitch is like, yeah, we were going to get a house together and everything. And then apparently it sounds like Judy ran out on her own daughter for Mitch. That's when then Kiki picks up the gold mirror that she found on the side of the road earlier in the movie and just starts smashing Mitch in the head with it. And then we just see Kiki walking off the grass onto the road and walking down the road. And then throughout the movie, it showed another movie that Mitch was watching. Mitch was watching a black and white movie. And then it shows the ending of the black and white movie. And then the end pops up. And then the outro credits starts to roll. And that's the end of the movie. And I gotta say, it was an interesting movie. It's short, but it also felt long at the same time. That last, I think, half hour really was dragging on. The kills are silly. Like, the survivors are not doing anything at all to try and stay alive. To the point where even one of them sat down on a chair waiting for Mitch to get closer, even though Mitch had a freaking bone saw in hand. Be like, I'll just sit down and I guess I'll just let you catch up. Why not? It's silly. Some of the kills, nothing super crazy, but I did like the prosthetics and the practical effects. That melted face effect was really cool, and the general look of Mitch's face and hands and how decayed they are and how scarred up there, it's really cool. On that factor alone, or with that factoring in, I think I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10 on the Rotten scale. It's nothing crazy. It's only an hour and 19 minutes, but like I said, that last half hour for some reason felt like it dragged on. Maybe because it's like midnight right now. Maybe that's the case, but it wasn't as fun as the beginning half of the movie, and the kills are just silly in general. So I think 5.5 is a good score for it. So I would at least check it out once. I don't think it's the worst movie I've ever seen, but the acting is pretty silly. So, which brings us to a point in time where we got to pick what we're going to be watching next week. Alright, so next week we're going to watch another first time movie. This one's another movie you can find on Tubi, of course. It's from 1992. It's a horror sci-fi comedy, and it's called Bad Channels. Description read from Tubi is: a rock and roll loving alien takes over a local radio station, all while scheming to kidnap beautiful women back to his home planet. Sounds silly. I'm looking forward to it. It's another quick run movie. It's only an hour and 22 minutes, but I'm okay with that. I like these quick movies. Hopefully the last half hour of this one suits a little better than the last one, so we'll have to wait and see, though. And as always, with that being said, make sure to check out the outro band, Toronto-based horror band Blood Opera. All their links are down below. And if you're listening on Spotify, they are directly linked to each episode now. Thank you to the new feature on Spotify.
So definitely go check it out. And as always, check out all my social media links down below at Typhon Sign or the Rotten Reviews Podcast on Instagram. You can find me personally on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, pretty much anything and everything, to be honest with you. But the main thing you can also check out is the YouTube channel. Definitely go check out our YouTube channel, my YouTube channel. I shouldn't say our because there's nobody else other than me. It's the Typhon Sign channel for hours upon hours of free content. Weekly gamer video drops every single Wednesday. Old episodes of the podcast every single Monday. At various shorts as well as community posts. And do the occasional live stream. So definitely go check that out. And also, if you want to support the podcast, there's also the TeePublic site link at the link below. Wow, that's a tongue twister. I'm tired. But yeah, like I said, TeePublic. You can find the link down below. You can buy the podcast shirt, my Predator Charlie Brown shirt, or maybe my John Candy shirt. It's up for a limited time as well, so definitely go check that stuff out. And as always, I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace.
I am a whisperer.